Welcome back to Potatoes to episode 4, Empyrion Galactic Survival Multiplayer on Grandpa's gaming server, the Lost City of Sol. Sometimes even mining here on Earth is worth it. This is just the base of a large magnesium deposit, and as you can see, I am currently mining in Erestrum as well as Pentaxic. So it does exist on Earth proper. Cobalt center. Interesting. Here we are at the base. It's the original base where I had left off. With episode 3, we have progressed further forward, however. From here we moved up to the moon, but we still have this as our starting area with other people that may come in. There are others that have joined the server. Still have the greenhouse, etc. here on Earth. From there we will go up to where we departed from here, because right about the end of episode 3, in that time frame, we discovered that in fact we couldn't spawn capital vessels here. So off to the moon we went. And from here we can take our capital vessel, which we have spawned in. You'll see at the end of the episode the spawn in actually. But it was kind of a mission to get done. But it is in place. So from here we will land it down on Earth Moon. And here we are on Earth's moon. It is a snow planet, very much like you would anticipate Ningus being from the vanilla scenario. This area was placed down by Grandpa. It was, I believe, Truth Seeker was the creator of it. It's basically a flat metal platform. Really wasn't much to it. However, we have advanced it, but we needed this in order to get in the graveyard, which was this CV. You've seen this in previous seasons. This is my tier 2 alteration, but this was not allowed to be spawned on Earth. So Grandpa made the base, and Mesmo actually brought in the graveyard while I was still putzing around down on Earth. I had not progressed forward. So they spawned that in, and it has been kind of our central hub of our starting crafting to advance us further. As you can see, since then, Grandpa has in fact placed his coffee pot, which you can see over here in the distance, as well as a large CV, I want to say factor, but that's not the right word. I'll have to take a look. I did actually bring in CV industry. There we go. But that he was able to spawn kind of diagonally across this base expansion. You see I do have the cemetery landed here, but it really is too big for the base. I had originally laid out these exterior walls. That was the size of the base needed for it to spawn in, but that just didn't work out here in the base. So we'll bring in a brief clip of the cemetery where I was able to catch Grandpa while I was out mining, but you'll see that here. And here comes Grandpa by or went Grandpa by. Got him at the tail end. As I was mining, he came up and flew by. First I thought I was under attack until I realized it was green and not red. And now that you've seen a glimpse of that, we'll have to take a look inside it at another time. Perhaps I can find it before I am done with this routine. But after that, let's go down inside the base and see what we've done inside. And here we are inside, or underneath. As you can see, here are some of the paintwork done on the upper level. Some of the ceiling is still not quite right on the inside, but c'est la vie. I started off inside by creating a fairly sizable green room. This has pretty much all the plants, enough to create several rounds of canned vegetables, 18 I think in a round, plus some additional tomatoes to make the canned meat, corn, wheat, a couple of each just to round out the top, as well as to make a half a dozen of the the bandages, these guys here. So we have enough grow room, and this was the first enclosed area. After that, I proceeded forward to finish closing the rest of it. Grandpa had already placed a door here for entrance, but I did enclose the rest of the down below, let's call it, with the basement area. Did create some additional advanced constructors. There's 5 out here which are labeled with specific tasks, as well as some rounds of fuel tanks, as well as oxygen tanks, row the back. And then behind these we have a bunch of storage containers which are labeled. They're not marked as yet because they haven't figured out what we'll put where, etc. But as you can see, I started with the high-end resources. Now go down and label everything to keep a relative organization, but there will be some additionals that will not get listed because I don't know exactly what we'll have, as well as a pair of backup advanced constructors which can be used for anything. And then outside also we place the furnace. Doesn't need the heat on the inside, so we can keep it out there so that doesn't create environmental issues for us. And then I placed a couple of generators between the main egress to the basement level of the support. So that is basically what we have here on Earth's moon. And from this point forward, as Grandpa and I were horsing around here, as you can see, there is still some mining yet to be done. We've knocked out quite a few of the resources, but not as many as on Earth. Earth, I think, has one iron left, and that's it. It's down to entirely asteroids, but there were quite a few more asteroids on this world. As you can see, most of them are smaller in deposit size, so they're fairly quick to pick up. It won't take long to finish out. The drone base, however, is done sending waves, so at this point it's just a target. So we'll proceed forward with that. But from here, the next place we establish ourselves, which really was Mesmo's doing, was on Kepler 666, to where the next of our planets is. The overall map. We are down here at Earth. We take this one-way teleporter up here to the asteroid moon. We can get to Kepler 666, which is where Mesmo has a small mountain base. So we'll head there next, and I will show you what's what on that world. And since we're approaching Mesmo's base on Kepler 666, here in the asteroid field we find his vessel as well as his small vessel. And so here we're off to Kepler 666. Just using a small vessel for this jaunt because it is a small base and it simply will not fit the cemetery. And here we are at the small mountaintop base at Kepler 666. This was set up by Mesmo originally. Hasn't seen much use since his departure. He has left the server, but left some of his things behind, as you've seen. I'm not certain if this has been partially disassembled or if this is as far as he progressed it, but he does have a typical Mesmo style building down in the hole. Go down the hatch here. It's got the watering like that in the snow as that works. Going down the elevator, we have the healing capabilities. Little hole that was presumably going to go further. This is all it is, basically a tunnel in the hill with basic medical facilities. It is still receiving drone attacks, so it has not been in game that long. So that's a Kepler 666 base in a nutshell. You can see it's about 3 kilometers away from the drone base. Our admin and the POI station in between here and there, which I've taken the weapons out of. Taken a few drone rounds down here as well. Continue to do so at the new base, which, as I'm looking at the registry here, you can see that right now there are quite a few here on Kepler 501, which is the system where my base is. Tombstone here is my base, but it looks like also Grandpa is here. He's got a couple of his ships along with his industry, so we will be able to see that there. Hopefully it's not actually on the pad, but I can move it if needs be. We'll see what we run into when we arrive. And here's the distance, quite local. It's only one hop away. We'll lock target and head that direction. Do I actually have the fuel? I don't even know. And I don't think I did, so glad I checked. And go off to the orange marker. This way, turn, turn, turn. And we're off. And so we'll fly into this world. As you can see, there is actually asteroids in the area, but there appear to be no resource asteroids that I located quite yet. Also, there's a moon, which has a restroom, so it's a good resource area as far as the planet is concerned. I have not done much resource harvesting as yet, but the base is in place. So we'll take you now through placing the base and what occurred there. So I have now placed the base, the Tombstone Starport 7.x. This is my primary base. This will be what I will function out of from this point forward, though I have a lot of moving to do. As before, the far side is red in structural integrity, so I will have to run some blocks down as I had done last season in Vexrays. The tricky part is that I am not administrator on this server. In fact, neither Grandpa or I are, so we cannot fly through the ground, so I will have to take some care running some supports next to the pillars, and then I will replace the pillar itself. Hopefully we can do this without a cave-in, but I am loaded with bullets, with just about all the ammunition. I have had a drone warning. I am not certain which direction they come from as yet, and I have not seen them arrive, so we will see where that is once we take a look at the base, or at the map. As we open the map, you can see that I am on Kepler 501. It is a barren planet, however, it is breathable atmosphere. Lots of water on it, even though it's barren, so this seemed like a pretty good place. There is some adverse weather here as well. I've got some radiated fog and the like, but overall not too bad. But once I get this shored up, I'll bring you back in for another site. You can see I have the graveyard sitting over there, but we will land some craft here and return it home to see if I can get a taxi out here, and then I will spawn the cemetery on this base, and that will be the ship that I will be operating out of. And gradually it comes together, a little bit at a time. Like these two here, I replaced the lower section in front of me, so I will continue that with the others that have supports. As we can see, turning off the structural integrity, basically these are holding it up. And halfway done on the left, more to go on the right. And as you've seen, it was a little tricky getting it in place, but the terrain is very nice and flat, as you saw. We will see it momentarily for real, a little more established as things set up, and we'll have to see how Grandpa's ship is there as well, but you'll see how challenging it was to actually place the cemetery. Well, I finally got the CV in. It's at a screwy angle. I was downstairs and actually finally found a spot that said there's an object in the way. So I just lifted up and continually raised at that location, and this is where it ended up being. It doesn't even look to me like it's spawned properly. Hey, down it comes. Just fell down on its own when I came nearby, which is okay because I need to get up it. Do I have gas? Oh yes, and put oxygen on it. Hopefully we won't lose the crops. Come on. Oh yeah, it's not going to open, dummy. Okay. And hit the P key to open the control panel. And gas. Or oxygen rather. Fuel. Turn the oxygen on. Okay. So now we'll go up and check our crops. Grandpa is on his way as well. He could say something at any time, but I am just recording locally. And looks like our crops are good. Alright. Let's land this guy back where he should be. Clearly it was not where it needed to be, but that's okay. And we will sit here for now. Okay. And now that you've seen that, we are entering the planet. very yellow terrain, as you saw on the previous clip. But here, we'll see what we have in effect for us. There should still be drones incoming. There were as I left, unless Grandpa has been there long enough for that to roll over, but I doubt that is the case. See how the world renders, hopefully okay. Turn the auto brakes on, level off. And our base is, there's the drone base. Actually came in almost on top of it, very nice. And Grandpa parked next to it. Good man, Grandpa. So be able to get a look at his ship. You can see the size of it. Of course, the base is not actually underground. That is a rendering bug, as it appears slowly as I get closer. The terrain will disappear from the top of it. And get us centered in as best as we can. Pretty precise in landing. Always got to hit that sweet spot. There we go. Turn the motion off and we're at home. With bad terrain. So, I will restart the client, get better terrain going, and take you through a run through. So, as we look out front towards the drone base, 6 kilometers away from my base, we will tell a couple stories as things were progressing. Before I had placed the cemetery, I was still using the graveyard, which we saw earlier in this episode, as well as the maggot. I was tracking down where the drone base was actually located, and I ran into a rather rough discovery that the drones, that is, can shoot you out of your cockpit. So I will tell you that spooky story on this green lightning night. Well, this turned into a little mishap. I was discovering which direction the drone base was, and as I was out chasing down the drones, you can see I shot one down, but then I was dead. I thought perhaps he blew the ship up, but as you can see, the ship, albeit a bit waterlogged, seems to be okay, and I don't even see any missing blocks on the front of the ship, so I'm not certain how they took me out without damaging the ship, but I don't know, I'll take it. That way I can still fly and the like, but anyway, right now I am to the west of the base. Drones, that was one of the base drones, so if I continue going this direction, somewhere out here has got to be the drone base, so we'll continue until we find that before we return to the base. And now that you've seen that, yeah, it's still thundering here. Pretty much always is on this planet. Green lightning is kind of neat. I like it. It's also a green atmosphere with purple clouds, so we'll see that more in the daytime, because I'll wait until the daytime in order to give you a tour of the cemetery as well as the base, and we'll take a look at Grandpa's ship as well, since it is parked on the ground out back. But as I was leading up to with all that chattering, there actually did have a second problem where I disconnected and the server shut down, and it left my ship up in the air but me on the ground. So I'll take you through what I had done to resolve that, because I was the only one online at the time. Well, here's a complication. Locking back in, coming back from a drone run, and the game disconnected from the server. The server shut down for whatever reason, so I updated the client. Oddly enough, there was an update, but it's the same package number. And our ship is way up in the air. I was flying that, and now I just fell to the ground, and I'm not sure how to get up there. So I'm going to try go into the registry and see if I can shut it off. Kind of hate doing that, but we're going to try. Control panel. Actually, I can try just some movement, see what happens. Not sure if it's coming down or not. We'll back off to get a look at it. Room in here. Registry. Graveyard. Control panel. Well, it doesn't appear to be moving when I turn the movement off, does it? Okay, well, power worked. Down it comes. Well, we'll see how much damage there is. So, anyway, that's one way around that problem if you run into it, because it is an alpha after all. Things happen. And here we are on the rise of the next day. I'm actually facing the wrong direction. The sun comes up in the east after all. Kind of, the compass does not follow when you move the camera, but you can now see where Grandpa had landed. So we'll do a quick tour of the ship, as it were, before the episode is over. But in the front of the ship, which is where we are currently located, have a basic light landing pad for a couple small vessels. I can fit a couple bugs up here. Those are my quick access. And the new entrance, which I have down the front, or actually down the back of the front of the landing pads, but that is a newer entrance. Previously, versions of the ships only you could exit only through the hangars in the back, so that is a definite benefit. From this point forward, we move towards the rear through our 4 factories that are on the vessel into the greenhouse, which is basically down the neck. Is everything growing or grown? Tempted to pick it now, but I'm going to continue the tour and do my busy work afterwards. So it has a battery of 10 refrigerators. And we have the 2 wing decks. It's the same on either side. External medical facilities out there. Also connects if we're in space. This does remain environmentally enclosed as well. From here, we can actually access the rear panel through more medical facilities. This is on the main deck of the ship, as it were. And above us here, you can see the underneath of the Spectre, which is accessible through these elevators, which go up to the upper rear hangar deck. More passenger seats, as well as another cockpit and additional upper flight deck. Here I have the Vampire sitting, which is a small warp capable vessel, very similar to the Maggot actually, which you had seen in previous episodes. However, this has the homing rockets and lasers, plus some additional storage. So that's about it for the cemetery. And now let's move down to the base. Of course, and as I say let's move to the base, let's undo that last statement and move down the other section because there are two internal hangar bays as well. On one side I have rigged for battle. This is basically the heavy zombie tank that you have seen in previous episodes certainly. And then the other side, basically another mirror image scenario, is an enclosed section, which I may start putting some smaller fighters in here so they don't get shot off the deck. I have been noticing that as being rather a nuisance when you go in to fight something and it shoots out one or two of the small vessels. So we will therefore proceed forward down below, as I had mentioned a moment ago, to a rear elevator which gets us into the hangar bay, which currently has nothing in it, but I'll likely have a zombie down here as well very soon. In fact, I think I even have one in the blueprint in the factory done, but I'll keep it for backup with Grandpa's vessel out that direction. But the front of the bay, this is fully climate controlled, so it is fine on off-world atmospheres as well. You can see I'm getting a server message, so in 10 minutes the server will be ending. Well, for a minute, then I can reconnect. But either side there are ramps that go down. There's nothing really in these other than a few decorations, a couple of guards outside, and quick access oxygen and water if needed, or healing rather if needed. These are designed to be the same level as the exit for the main exit on a water, so on an even terrain this will work fantastically. However, in uneven terrain sometimes this may be in the air or partially buried. I have seen that occur if you're doing it on land. But it is very nice even here at on the ground, because the terrain, you can land a vessel along here very easily. It is not that deep. It's just over your head, so it will use oxygen a little, but it is fairly flat. So most capital vessels with landing gear would have no problem landing. Get us back up to the center. And just poked out the other side. Much better example, as I was saying, where the terrain is so flat that even in the water you're pretty much running. In fact, I can change my view to show that. See, I am just walking through the base of the shallow water. So, back up top. And as we re-enter, do notice the lights are very close quarter control as far as the switching is concerned. But inside the main core of the base has mostly refrigeration for heavy or advanced constructors. There is actually a furnace on the base as well, but it, like most of the storage in the upper deck and all, is only handled through the control panel. You can see I have everything itemized fairly specifically, so it's nice, well organized, so long as you're a control panel fan, as I am. And then towards the other side of the deck, which is actually under the main cockpit of the capital vessel again, we have our greenhouse. Plenty to grow here as well. Make health packs and all that, but I do have some of every plant as well. Even down at the end. To the far north side of the base, you can go up or down. Down will take us into the water once again. Which again, once we come out, we're walking again. So that is the base. Out from underneath and below, and even from up above. I'm standing here briefly to wait for the sunrise, but oddly enough, 3 a.m. in the morning, there is quite a moon shadow from up above, so there's quite a bit of light even at nighttime here on this planet. And finally, we'll head over to the CV Industry. It is a large vessel. It sits kind of at a funky angle on the deck, and I think I see why. Grandpa, if you're taking a look at this, hopefully you will be soon, note that your problem is the landing pads rather, are only 1 block high. The turrets, however, if you take a look what you have a couple on the bottom, are actually 2 blocks high. As you see, only 1 is not enough to go through, so it needs to be down a bit more. You're going to do it. At any rate, that is why it sits at such a funky angle. Thought you might be interested in that, so anyway, we'll see if we can get... How come this is gone wonky? Gotta love alpha. That's not actually there, but so be it. Up the inside of the ship we go. And as we enter, we do see a few familiar sights. The mummy and the maggot over here. On the left here, he's got 2 advanced constructors set up, and the rest, I believe, are all standard constructors. Or are they all advanced? I don't understand why they wouldn't be all advanced, but that's how he had described it to me. I guess that's the way it had been done, as well as another small fighter craft, which I've not actually seen before. This is a new one by me. Interesting. So it's large. It does have separate switches for opening the doors and all that. And at the end, it has an elevator. I believe there's one on either end, which can go up. There is a catwalk that will walk you through. You get a top-down view of whatever is in there. The warp core is down here. And all the way, I guess this is all the way to the top. How do we get up? Here. Secondary cargo bay, which he's got a ship in here as well for a small craft. Okay. A couple more of my vehicles up here. This one I had redone but needs an updating. It's a gorgeous craft though. I love the outlook of it. That's why I reworked it. Both are reworks, I should say. They're not my individual credit, though this one is pretty much all mine at this point. Took some hits, it looks like. And then out towards the end is the cockpit, which does have additional switches and all that. I want to say I had done this once before, going through the switches, but I can't recall where I posted it in, so I may not have. So that's his basic vessel. I'm not sure if we can get an outside view of the base. Let's see if we do this and the V key and change our view to rotate through with mine in the background. Is that going to be alright? I don't know if that'll be alright or not. What I do know is that I'm okay. It's the world that's all wrong. It's just a matter of perspective. With that thought in mind, I thank you very much for watching, and take care.